Welcome back to Smoke Signals. I'm Matt Montgomery along with Athletic Director and Head Football Coach Chris Tabor. Fighting Indians get win number 2 on the young season by a score of 49-14 over the Palestine Wildcats. Coach, got to feel good, 2-0. Wow.
It was a lot better than last year. So,
you know, just like the Pine Tree game, you got off to a fast start. And
yeah.
That was the key to the game.
Well, we talk about it, you know, the 2 most important drives of the game are the first one in the first half and the first one in the second half, and our kids have done well.
Down to that 2-point conversion, and the Indians got the stop and got the win.
Yeah, it was one of those games, and we talked about it. You know, Mount Pleasant hasn't really done a lot.
Knew they had the firepower to make some plays, and that's what you saw. We saw, you know, we got off to a fast start, moved the ball, got the ball back on 3 and out, and just kind of started sputtering. You know, we fumbled the ball, we threw an interception, you know, just gave them opportunities to get back in the game when we really could have kind of made it kind of out of hand there in the first quarter.
Yeah, I think that's really what I saw was that the turnovers kept them in the game. You had 5 turnovers, and of course you had won the turnover battle so decisively the first couple of games, and then when that happens. But to me, though, Coach, what I took away from the game is that you came away with a win despite the fact that you had 5 turnovers. You got to feel pretty good about that.
I feel good about that. You know, and we talked about it after the game, you know, in Mount Pleasant, that, you know, the last 2 years, that type of game we never won.
Yeah.
You know, when we didn't play well or we gave a team opportunities and we kind of had our backs against the wall, we just couldn't ever get over that hump. And what we saw last Friday was we finally got over that hump. We finally found a way to win instead of trying not to lose. And that's why I was most proud about our kids about.
Specifically, as far as the game, we're going to look at some highlights here in just a few minutes, but the offensive line did a tremendous job. You mentioned that also in your post-game interview, but 3 rushers that, and I've been watching Jacksonville football for 40 years, so in modern history, Jacksonville's never had 3 running backs go over 100 yards in a game. 2 several times, but not 3. I'll tell you, the running game is really looking good.
Yeah, and that was kind of a challenge at halftime. You know, we lost Carter at halftime, you know, as a precautionary thing, kind of hurt a rib, and we didn't want to take a chance in a non-district game. So I kind of challenged O-line. I challenged running backs that, you know, if we were going to win this thing, we're going to kind of put this on your shoulders. And they rose to the occasion. You know, Day-Day Thacker had a great second half. Vidal Johnson stepped up his game. Jamadric Taylor, you know, first game back, 100-yard rusher. And our O-line made all that happen. And we talk about it all the time. We can have the best running backs in Texas, but if we can't block, it doesn't matter. And so, you know, our fight really, we had 7 O-linemen play Friday night because we got a couple dinged up. And, you know, that's the great thing about our depth right now is we got guys that can come in and get the job done, and we did it last Friday.
Yeah, and the offensive line is really not gotten the credit that they have, I mean, through the years, I should say. We always talk about the running backs, but, you know, the first 3 ball games, I think you really are starting to see this trench development, if you will, in the offensive line. The depth helps, and the running backs. I mean, Coach, I got to tell you, I mean, down there on the field, and you saw it, there were several times when Mount Pleasant didn't want any part of Wooda coming through there or Jamadric running the football.
No, and you know, and our O-line did a great job of being physical, and that's what we've asked them to be for the last couple of weeks, is be physical and give our running backs a chance to make them right, and we saw that. And when you're trying to tackle a 195-pound sophomore that's running downhill and a 205-pound junior that's running downhill, and then you throw your speed kid in there with Day-Day, and he still was physical. I mean, his last run that he made was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. So, and that's our philosophy, and that's what we've talked about since we started this thing, is we want 3 to 4 running backs that we can just keep fresh the whole game. So by the 4th quarter, they don't want to tackle them anymore, and that's when you saw us start breaking some long runs. We averaged 10 yards a carry the other night, and most of it was because of our second half performance.
And for the season, Day-Day's averaging 10 yards a carry, and Wood is averaging over 9.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's for the season for the first 3 ball games as you head into district play. So, defensively, still some things to work on, obviously, but looked better in some spots. But, again, the points given up had a lot to do, I think, with the turnovers that the offense made.
It did. And you look at what Mount Pleasant did. They had a couple of big plays on us, which we've got to minimize. We can't give up the big touchdowns. But it was partly our fault on offense because we weren't getting them off the field and keeping them off the field. You know, we'd get the ball back and we throw a screen that hits off a helmet. And, I mean, 2 defensive ends had interceptions for them. So, I mean, that's our fault. And we put our defense in a short field a couple times. So, you know, although they gave up some points, realistically, it was our responsibility to drive the football and put points on the board, and we didn't do that. We kind of put them in a bind early. Second half, they stepped up and made some plays. Again, a kid makes a tip ball, turns around, catches and scores a touchdown.
Freaky.
You know, we have a safety that breaks on the ball and bats it in the air. So, I mean, it wasn't like we were playing bad football. They just seemed to get all the breaks.
Yeah, people look at that score and they say, God, the defense is not very good, but a lot of times, and you know this as a coach, I mean, it's the offense that puts the defense in those situations.
Yeah, and it was offensively, I think I had a little bit to do with that. We were trying to open up our pass game a little bit early. The rain started coming, and I think that played into a little bit. We had a couple balls that we just dropped that we should have that turned into, either us having a punt or a 4th down conversion or a 3rd down conversion. So, a little bit of that was my responsibility, trying to throw. I mean, I knew we could run the ball. And we were, that's what non-district is for, is to try to open up your whole playbook and try to get everything going. And early, I felt like, some of the play calling that I had kind of put us in a bind. When we should have run it, we were throwing it around a little bit. And then the second half, I finally got away from it and said, we're going to do what we do best, and we saw the results.
Well, Jacksonville gets the win 50-48. Let's take a look at some of the highlights on that win in Mount Pleasant.
This is our first drive. This is just running a little wheel route with Day Thacker out of the backfield. Like I said, our tempo was good. We were running the ball well. We felt like we got a good one-on-one matchup. With a little pick route on the outside, and actually brought the linebacker that was supposed to cover Day, so it actually worked out pretty good for us. Now, we'd like for him to lower his shoulder and finish right there, but overall did a good job. Mount Pleasant gets the ball back, and this is what we've done pretty good. This is short, 3rd and short, and Big D gets in the backfield, makes a play in the backfield. He is strong. He's about a 600-pound squatter, so when he gets a hold of you can see you're not going anywhere. But they're getting better. Come back in the second drive, trying to throw it around a little bit. This is our screen. This has been pretty successful for whoever catches it. This is Day Thacker. This is his 2nd touchdown of the game, and it's nice to have a kid that's a speed guy that can get him in space and makes a little miss. You got a chance to go to the house with it. But if you watch the O-line here, this is a timing play. When you watch our O-line get out and lead this thing, I mean, we got good spacing. We're picking up blocks. I mean, there's not guys just running around. I mean, they're setting that up.
They created a nice alley for Day to get up into.
And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for spacing and timing, and they've done a good job. And this is a 300-pound lineman running down the field.
Yeah, sophomore, Searcy.
Come back this second quarter. Did a lot of our motion stuff. Now you're going to get Vidal Johnson, our sophomore running back, and this is what you were talking about earlier, just getting downhill. If you watch all of our running backs, we do a good job of getting our shoulders lowered and getting down the field. And when we get tackled, we're always going forward. Not too many times we get hit in the backfield or stunned where we're not getting those extra 2 or 3 yards.
Again, good seal block on the outside.
Yeah.
Was that Frankie?
Yeah, good job of Franklin Torres. And then, Micah Edwards does a great job of cutting on the edge for us on our outside run game. Got him in a bind here. We've been going pretty fast running stretch. This is Day-Day's 3rd touchdown. I mean, pretty simple for him. O-line opened up a big hole. And this is one of those plays where you're looking to get outside, but, we tell them you can bang it whenever you see an open zone. You can see, I mean, we're having success. You take the turnover away in this game, it's probably not even close. Defensively, you can see some pressure here. And outside bid, good job of containing it. Outside pressure is funneling everything back to those 5 guys in the middle. Chris did a good job with the sophomore outside linebacker. It's really come on and starting to get better and better. Here's Monty Taylor. This one is talking about doing good. There's 2 broken tackles and then one goes to safety. After 3 quarters, 4 quarters, another thing, watch our O-line, watch the start, move the line. That's something we did in the stuff. Getting that front line moved down the field and getting around that type of thing. Again, we got a little pressure on the outside. You got to get them out present because they made plays and have to make plays. Again, this is what we have to do is guys rallying to the football. The inside zone play, winning the line screen, finish on the linebacker. You got 9, 8 guys in the football making tackles. We're young, we've got some people going to be around the line. Cody Robinson did a great job for us. It was a big 4th down play. 4th and 4, we need to get first down to keep the ball moving. Cody, first time he played quarterback since his freshman year. He did a good job of running off. yards receiving was only receiver that night. This is Vidal Johnson again, running an inside counter play. They end up double blitzing the A-gap, so, you know.
That's one of the runs right there, Coach, where you could see the left corner or whoever that came out just really didn't want a part of it.
No, they're trying
He
to
just stuck his arm out there. He didn't really want to tackle him.
Yeah.
Watch him come out there and just kind of, I'm just going to dive out of the way.
I don't think he really wanted to tackle him, but, you know,
yeah.
effort for film for his coach,
Sure.
I think he threw his body around a little bit. Again, defensively, you know, we're so much further ahead than we were last year, just understanding what we're supposed to do, and you can see it again, everybody getting to the football. And that's going to be the key on Friday night against Ennis. You know, it's going to be assignment football and them getting to it. Mm-hmm. But you're starting to see them get lined up. They understand what their keys are, and they're coming off the football. You can see them, I mean, look at the front line, get a push. I mean, even if he catches that and not fumble the snap, it's going to be a hard play to run for him.
Yeah, and Luna got back there quickly. He's another sophomore.
Another sophomore. Yeah. So this is power again. This is how much better we are. I mean, we run power and inside run game, and we don't get touched for 15 yards to score a touchdown. So you can see our front line get a push. I mean, we're getting a double team to the backside linebacker. I mean, it's textbook. Yeah,
Ambrosen, good block.
Again, just so much stronger, so much more physical up front, and that's what we look for. This is probably the play of the year so far. This is Day-Day.
Is this the run?
This is the run right here.
Watch this, viewers. This is amazing. If you didn't see this live, watch this.
There's two. You know, he hurdles a kid here, takes on a tackler, and then J-Mac comes and knocks the guy off, and we end up scoring. That ends up being the game-winning touchdown, and then we ended up scoring a 2-point conversion to kind of seal the deal.
All right, let's count these tackles that he broke right here, and it's amazing to me that the balance that Day-Day Thacker shows right here. And again, as you said, good downfield blocking. Okay, let's see. There's 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 tackles that he
and then
got
cramped up about the 5-yard line.
Yeah,
so.
He got all tightened up there. Amazing run. Great way to finish it right there. And by the way, I want to mention also, people know this. He was wearing Braylon Parrish's jersey, number 27. It was really neat to for you guys to do that for Braylon, who's out for the year with an injury. Braylon was home listening to the game, and I talked to him. He could hear his name over the PA system, from over the radio, and he could hear his name every time. Of course, David had a monster game, 148 yards rushing, and did 5 touchdowns, 3 running, 2 receiving. That was amazing.
Well, that was their idea. He would let you do that. Braylon obviously excited about it. You know, it's such a different feeling. It's more of a family unit. You lose Braylon for the year. He's captain, 3-year starter. You know, it's hard to get wristbands made for him. It gives out to the kids. You know, and he's such a different part of that team. The kids know that, and I think as we were talking earlier about practice, everybody understands the expectations at Jackson High. And if there's ever a doubt, all they got to do is look over there and see Braylon. Crutches, and he's their place to get his heartbeat.
Yeah, he's down there at practice even with his crutches.
Yeah, and that's what he wants to do. He is a leader in this program, in the school, and the kids will flock to him. And, you know, and I talked to him after the game Friday, and asked him, he was mad as I was the first time. So, you know, I said, well, I can tell you this, wherever we need to have a big game, we're going to give them your jersey. Because Day-Day,
that's right.
You know, a career night and 5 touchdowns. I think Carter's going to wear it this week, so just best friend. It's fun.
Carter looks like one of those Plano quarterbacks.
Yeah, kind of bring back Odessa Permian, over 25, you know, it's not different. If you told me to play 20,
that's true. That's true.
Who cares?
Well, Jacksonville gets the win, 50-48 thriller. This week, hey, everything's different. It's just 16-5A. It is a monster district. Beast of the East is what they're calling it. Coaches, you start off with a big one within us, and they're a good football team.
They are a good football team. They're well-deserved ranking. You know that they've lost 2 games. They lost to a team 6A state champion. They lost to upcoming Kansas power. So it's going to be tough. I mean, they're a good football team, and they coach really well. Jack Alvarez has gone over there and done a really good job with the program. You know, it's one of those things that you got to step up and play the best game.
And this is a different football team than what Jacksonville normally sees and expects with all the spreading of the field and throwing the football around. They like to grind it out with that wing team.
Yeah, they're a wing team football. They throw it a bunch, which is surprising to us, but they do such a good job of formation, getting you out playing and doing things like that. So, the good thing for us, we have 2 weeks to prepare for. This is really the only offense that's going to be different. They'll be pretty much 2 by 2, 3 by 1 spread offenses. So it gives us 2 weeks for our kids to really start recognizing the 3-man first, 4-man first, 2-man first, and doing all that stuff to make sure we're playing sound football. So that's been the blessing. The other thing is you still got to play them.
And it's, of course, last year a state semifinalist with a lot of returning starters. The favorite basically coming into the district this year. What's it? You had the 2 weeks to prepare, and I know you've seen a practice and doing some of the things that you've been saying to the kids. This is a football team that you can play with. I mean, you've seen it. I mean, you've watched them on film, what they can do. They have some great athletes. They have some D1 commitments and so forth. But I heard you say, they put their pants on just like we put our pants on. That's a standard thing, but it's true because your football team's pretty good too at 3-0.
It is, and that's what our kids believe we can win. Our coaches believe we can win, and that's the most important thing. And it's football. I mean, it's a game. They're going to line up and play a football game, and we're going to line up and play a football game. It's who makes the fewest mistakes is going to win. I mean, whoever has the ball bounce the right way for them is going to win. And and that's why they play the games. I mean, you have people that are picked every year to win Super Bowls and national championships and state championships, and it don't always work out the way they pick them. And that's what we tell our kids is, you play the game to see who's the better team that night, not the better team that year. So,
And confidence. Confidence is such a huge thing, well, in anything in life, especially with a high school football player. Coming off what we had last year, some of those guys experiencing that. Now it's 3-0. We're starting to kind of feel, hey, this thing's kicking in, and it is, because the numbers are up, the players are up. It all starts this week. This is for real. This is the place starts. What a great place to open up.
Yeah, you're right. Confidence. Walk in. Probably like to see. Right now, we feel good about ourselves. Good football. Didn't play great the first quarter. At the end of the night, it doesn't matter what it looks like.
Offensively, how would you attack them? Just give them what they take.
That's the big thing defense. Defensively, they coach really well. So that helps us because we know what they're coaching to do. We know what they're talking to do on the back. We know coverage like they're not real flashy. What they are is coaching to us. It's going to be one of those games, run in, pass. You're going to have to pay for it. I think if we can do that with a quick run game, do that, keep them unbalanced, I think we'll be okay. Get behind the
and defensively, alluded to this earlier, it's a different look. We throw the ball a lot. What do you do defensively? Anything different? The first couple of ball games, how active the linebackers were together.
Our D-line got a good it's option football. It's rules and responsibilities. You got to know who you have, and you got to know what your read keys are because they're going to take you to the football. The thing with them that makes them difficult is they do it pretty quick. They're going to huddle and sprint to the line and run it, and huddle, sprint to the line and run it. So we've got to be able to get lined up. We've got to be able to recognize, what our keys are and their 3-man sides and their 2-man sides and make sure that we know what we're supposed to do, and then everybody's got to do their job. You can't do somebody else's job, and that's going to be the big thing is everybody staying on key and doing what they're supposed to do and rallying to the football.
Well, that sounds like a huge key to the game right there. What are some other keys for Jacksonville to get the win?
I think we talked about it the other night. I think 2 big things that we have to have happen is we definitely have to win the turnover battle. I think we got to get a turnover deep in their territory story and capitalize on it. And I think we got to stop a drive, because that's what they're good at, is they're going to take 12, 14, 16 plays and drive you down the field. And I think we got to have a stop on one of those big drives to give our defense some confidence. And if we can do that, I think, if we can get the lead or stay close going into the fourth quarter, I think we got a chance to win this thing.
Well, it's Jacksonville versus Ennis in District 16 5A's opener. The Jacksonville Indians have played the Ennis Lions 4 times in history. Haven't beaten them yet. Hopefully Friday night, that'll be the time. Last time these two teams played was in 2000 in the quarterfinals at Texas Stadium. So we'll see you Friday night at Tomato Bowl. We'll be on the air at 7 o'clock on KWRW. For head coach Chris Tabor, I'm Matt Montgomery. We'll see you next time right here on Smoke Signals. All right, 3, 2, 1. Fighting Indians at home tonight with the District 16 5A opener against the Ennis Lions, ranked number 14th in the state of Texas. Coach, you're 3-0. Got a big win 2 weeks ago against Mount Pleasant. Talk about the win, your overall impressions.
I thought we did some good things. I thought, when we finally got back to doing what we do, which is run the football and play action, I thought we were a little bit more sound. We tried to open up early in the rain, and, that's partly my fault. We struggled a little bit throwing it, but losing Carter, it allowed us and our team to find a way to win without your starting quarterback back there, so that was huge for us.
Yeah, this is a game, we talked about this, that maybe last year you don't win, but right. The confidence level and the way the kids stepped up to the plate, you had 5 turnovers in the ball game that you overcame.
Yeah, and that's the deal. At halftime, I challenged O-line and I challenged running backs, and they stepped up and accepted that challenge and basically told me, I got you. I got you, Coach. We got this. We're fine. And you saw that the second half. We ended up running for 488 yards on the night. The majority of that was the second half with Day-Day and Wuda and Jamadri Taylor. So that's what we do, and we're not going to get away from that.
Yeah, and those 3 young men, for the first time in modern history, you had 3 runners over 100 yards rushing. 3 of them. You've had 2 several times, but not 3. And a lot of that, as you said, happened in the second half, and behind a tremendous effort from a really offensive line with a lot of depth right now that's really playing well.
They are playing well, and they like each other, and they're helping each other, they're communicating. That's been the biggest thing for us this year compared to the last 2 years is our O-line talk. They talk to each other. They know what's happening. They know what their adjustments are. They've learned the game of football, and we don't have to tell them everything. They can do that in the heat of a battle.
You gave up 48 points, Coach, but a lot of that was the result of your offensive turnovers.
Yeah, we didn't play well early, and that's what we talked about. We had 5 turnovers. We had 4 in the first half. So when you put your defense on the field that many times, things are going to happen against them. So we've got to do a better job tonight of keeping them off the field and us converting points every time we touch the ball.
Jacksonville accomplishes their goal by going 3-0 in non-district. Now it's district play. As the Ennis Lions are in town, we'll talk about those Lions when we come back on the Chris Tabor Show right after this. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Chris Tabor Show. Fighting Indians at home tonight in the District 16 5A opener against the Ennis Lions, ranked number 14 in the state. Coach, the Lions come in at 1-2, but they've played some pretty good people to get that 1-2 record.
Yeah, I mean they're the best 1-2 football team in the state of Texas right now. So records don't mean anything now. Everybody's 0-0. It's all about district play. I mean those 3 wins we got is not going to help us get in the playoffs, and those 2 losses aren't going to keep them from the playoffs. So everything starts tonight, and we got to come out and get ready to go.
What does Ennis do, and what do they do well?
They run the ball well. They're physical, but they do throw it around a bunch. So, we got to make sure we're on our responsibilities and reading our keys tonight defensively. And then offensively, they do a good job of tackling. And that's the big thing you see with them with their linebackers out in space is they do a good job of breaking down and making tackles in space. So we got to be physical when we run the ball, and we got to be able to break tackles and get to the second level. And I think if we can do that and drive the football, keep our defense off the field, I think we can have a chance to have some success tonight.
You had a couple of weeks to prepare for a team that runs an offense that's a little bit different than what they throw the ball a lot, but they run out of the formation they run of. You don't see a lot in East Texas.
No, you don't. That's going to be the key to us tonight is us getting aligned. They do a lot of unbalanced stuff. They do some nasty sets with some slot stuff. So the big thing for us is making sure we're lined up before that ball snap.
Defensively, they're led by James Lockhart, an A&M commitment, and they have several guys on defense that are pretty good.
Yeah, and he's an outstanding football player. They played him at Mike linebacker a little bit in the first 2 games, and then moved him back to end, and he's had success everywhere he's played. So, but it's not just him. I mean, you look at him across the board. I mean, they're very talented on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball. So, Coach Alvarez does a great job coaching those kids, and those kids have responded to what he's brought in there in Ennis, and they've had success the last couple of years. So it's going to be a fight.
We'll talk about the keys to the game against the Ennis Lions for Jacksonville on the Chris Tabor Show right after this. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Chris Tabor Show. Fighting Indians opening up District 16 5A play tonight at the Tomato Bowl against the Ennis Lions. And, Coach, what are the keys to tonight's game for Jacksonville to get the win?
I think, what we saw last week with the turnovers hurt us. So I think, definitely this week, like the first 2 weeks, is we've got to win the turnover battle. I think the key to it is stopping a drive and having one deep in their territory where we can convert and get some momentum early. If we can do that and kind of keep them on their heels, I think we got a chance to, come away with a win tonight.
Coach, your first 2 ball games, you had blowout wins. You're averaging 53 points a game. And then last week you had one of those mentally challenging games. And how important was it for your team to get that win last week in a close ball game when, man, it looked kind of rough there for a while?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're playing. I mean, Mount Pleasant or Texas High or Kilgore, it doesn't matter who you're playing. I mean, when you play in a game like that, whether you're doing really well or not doing well, if you can win the close ones when you got to win them, it's just going to kind of get you ready for that situation in district because it's going to come up. You're going to be in a dogfight before long in this district, and you're going to have to find a way to win, and our kids did that the other night, so that helped us.
Coach, confidence is huge in just about everything, but to a high school football player, after the season last year, and then you're 3-0 and you're starting district play against a power, how important and what are you seeing about that confidence level for your football team right now?
It's big. I mean, you go to practice, and our kids are trying to get better. They're not just going to practice. They're having fun with each other. They're talking. They're communicating. They're flying around hitting each other. I mean, they're making plays in practice, and they're trying to get better. And you got kids behind the starters pushing them, trying to get their job. So, I mean, 2 deep across the board, we got kids that can play football. And, we got to make sure it's confidence and not cockiness because, we're not that good yet. And I think we saw that last week at Mount Pleasant. That was the thing we kind of talked about. We need to be confident in what we're doing. We need to expect to win football games when we step on the field. But we don't need to think we're better than everybody in the state yet because we're not. And I think that's what kind of brought us back to earth this last week on our off week is, with Mount Pleasant, as our kids started realizing there's a lot of work to be done.
Coach, good luck. We'll talk to you at the half.
Thank you.